The morning air bit at Lily's cheeks as she walked through the iron gates of Pine Grove Cemetery. The place was quiet except for the sound of dry leaves skittering across the path. She clutched a bunch of bright yellow sunflowers in one hand and pulled her coat tighter with the other. 5 years. It didn't seem possible that 5 whole years had passed since the accident. Sometimes it felt like yesterday. Other times it felt like another lifetime altogether. Lily knew the way by heart now. Third path on the left, past the old oak tree, then right at the stone angel. She'd walked this route so many times she could probably do it blindfolded. Each step felt heavy today, like her boots were filled with cement. "Morning, Mrs. Chen," Lily said, nodding to an elderly woman tending to a grave with fresh flowers. They often crossed paths here. Mrs. Chen had lost her husband 7 years ago and visited him every week without fail. They'd never really talked beyond simple greetings, but there was a comfort in seeing a familiar face in this place of ghosts and memories. Mrs. Chen smiled softly and waved back. That was their routine, a quiet acknowledgement of their shared membership in a club nobody wanted to join. The sunflowers trembled in Lily's grip as she approached Michael's headstone. It was simple gray granite with his name, the dates that marked his too short life, and the words, "Beloved son and brother," underneath. Their parents had wanted something longer, more poetic, but Lily had insisted on keeping it simple. Michael would have hated anything flowery. "Hey, big brother," she whispered, kneeling down on the small bench she'd brought and set up years ago. "Brought your favorites." She carefully removed last month's wilted flowers and replaced them with the fresh sunflowers, arranging them in the stone vase built into the ground. Michael had always loved sunflowers. "They're always looking at the sun," he'd tell her, "always facing the light no matter what." That was Michael, forever the optimist. "So, I got that promotion at school," she continued, brushing some fallen leaves from the top of his headstone. "I'm teaching the older kids now. You'd laugh at how nervous I was on my first day with them. Remember how you used to tease me about being scared of my own shadow?" The wind picked up slightly, rustling through the nearby trees. Lily smiled, imagining it was Michael's way of answering her. "Mom and Dad are doing okay. Dad's back is giving him trouble again, but you know how he is, won't slow down for anything. Mom's garden won first prize at the community show last month. Those weird purple tomatoes you helped her plant before. Well, before everything. They finally produced fruit this year. She was so excited she called me at midnight to tell me." Lily pulled her phone from her pocket and scrolled through some photos. "Look, I took pictures to show you." She held the phone up to the headstone, displaying images of their mother proudly holding oddly shaped purple tomatoes. It was silly, she knew, showing photos to a grave, but these little rituals kept her connected to him somehow. As she tucked her phone away, something caught her eye. Just at the base of Michael's headstone, partially hidden by grass, was a small, flat stone. It wasn't unusual to find pebbles on graves. Many visitors left them as a mark of respect. But this one was different. It had been painted. Lily leaned forward and picked it up. The stone fit perfectly in her palm, smooth and cool. On its surface, someone had carefully painted a small spiral with 3 dots arranged in a triangle above it. Lily's breath caught in her throat. It was Michael's symbol, the same one he'd had tattooed on his right wrist. He'd designed it himself, claiming it represented the journey inward and outward, or some philosophical meaning he'd never fully explained. It had been his thing, unique to him. Lily looked around the cemetery, suddenly aware that someone else had been here. Someone who knew Michael well enough to know his personal symbol. "That's weird," she murmured, turning the stone over in her hand. There was nothing on the back, just the natural roughness of the rock. A chill that had nothing to do with the autumn air ran through her. All of Michael's close friends had moved away after college. Their hometown had little to offer. Young people with ambitions bigger than its borders. And anyway, most of them had kept in touch with her, at least on social media. None had mentioned visiting. As she scanned the cemetery, she noticed something else. A small bunch of wildflowers tucked against the side of Michael's headstone, almost hidden from view. They weren't store-bought, but looked freshly picked, tied with a piece of twine. Lily was sure they hadn't been there during her last visit a month ago. She reached for them, her fingers brushing against the slightly damp stems. Whoever had left them must have done so recently, maybe even this morning. "Hello," she called out, her voice sounding thin in the open air. "Is anyone there?" Only the whisper of the wind answered her. Standing up, Lily brushed the grass from her jeans and took a few steps away from the grave, looking around more carefully now. The cemetery was mostly empty. Mrs. Chen had already left, and there were only a couple of distant figures near the far entrance. That's when she saw him. Or at least, she thought she did. A figure in a dark jacket, standing partially hidden, behind the large Peterson family mausoleum about 50 yards away. The jacket looked eerily like the worn leather one Michael used to wear everywhere, the one that had been buried with him because their mother couldn't bear to keep it. Lily's heart leaped into her throat. "Hey," she called out, already moving, toward the mausoleum. The figure stepped quickly behind the stone building, disappearing from view. Lily broke into a run, her boots crunching on the gravel path. She rounded the corner of the mausoleum, expecting to confront whoever had been watching her, but found nothing. Just empty space and the back wall of the cemetery, with its high stone fence and tangle of old ivy. "Hello?" she called again, turning in a complete circle. "Is someone there?" The cemetery remained silent, indifferent to her confusion. Lily stood there for several long moments, her breath forming small clouds in the cool air. Had she imagined it? The figure had been far away, and the light was playing tricks through the trees. Maybe it was just another visitor who happened to be wearing a similar jacket, but the painted stone in her pocket felt heavy, like a secret waiting to be told. She walked slowly back to Michael's grave, her mind racing. In 5 years, she'd never encountered anything strange here. Her visits had become routine, sad but predictable moments of connection with her lost brother. Now suddenly there were signs that someone else remembered him too, someone who knew things about him that felt intimate and personal. As she approached his headstone again, Lily noticed something she'd missed before. The ground around his grave looked different somehow. She knelt down, running her fingers over the earth beside the granite marker. The soil had been disturbed recently, not dug up exactly, but pressed down in a way that suggested someone had been kneeling there for a long time. "What's going on, Michael?" she whispered, a mixture of confusion and unease washing over her. The wind picked up again, stronger this time, sending a shower of red and gold leaves spiraling down from the trees. One landed on her shoulder, and Lily brushed it away absently, her thoughts elsewhere. She sat back on her bench, staring at her brother's name carved in stone. For the first time in years, her regular monologue felt stilted. She was too distracted by the painted stone, the mysterious flowers, and the vanishing figure. "I should go," she said finally, standing up. "But I'll be back soon, promise." As she turned to leave, she paused and then pulled out her phone, taking several pictures of the gravesite, the wildflowers, and the painted stone she'd found. Something told her she might want to remember these details later. The walk back to Nawar. The cemetery gates felt different now. Lily found herself glancing over her shoulder repeatedly, half expecting to see the mysterious figure following her. But the paths between the graves remained empty. Her car sat alone in the small parking lot, a light dusting of fallen leaves scattered across its hood. As she unlocked the door, Lily looked back at the cemetery one last time. From here, she couldn't see Michael's grave, hidden as it was behind rows of headstones and autumn bare trees. "What am I missing?" she murmured to herself as she slid into the driver's seat. The painted stone sat on the passenger seat where she'd placed it, catching the midday sunlight. Michael's symbol seemed to shimmer slightly, like it held answers just beyond her reach. Lily started the engine but didn't immediately drive away. Instead, she pulled out her phone again and scrolled through her contacts until she found Lisa, Michael's old girlfriend. They hadn't spoken in at least 2 years, but if anyone might know something about who'd visit his grave with painted stones and wildflowers, it would be her. Her thumb hovered over the call button as uncertainty gripped her. Was she overreacting, making a mystery out of coincidence? The memory of the figure ducking behind the mausoleum decided for her. She pressed call and lifted the phone to her ear, watching the cemetery gates through her windshield as the phone rang. Hello? Lisa's voice sounded exactly the same, bringing with it a flood of memories. Lisa, hi, it's Lily, she said, her voice steadier than she felt. I'm sorry to call out of the blue like this, but something strange just happened at Michael's grave, and I thought you might know something about it. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Lily, Lisa said finally, her voice dropping to nearly a whisper. I've been trying to call you all week. There's something you need to know about Michael. About what really happened 5 years ago. Lily's grip tightened on the steering wheel as she stared at the cemetery gates, suddenly certain that whatever had begun here today was only the beginning of something much bigger and much more frightening than a mysterious visitor leaving tokens at her brother's grave. Lily's apartment felt too quiet after the phone call with Lisa. She paced from her small kitchen to the living room window and back again, unable to sit still. Lisa's words kept replaying in her mind. What if Michael's accident wasn't really an accident? They had agreed to meet tomorrow at a coffee shop across town. Lisa had sounded nervous, almost frightened, and had refused to say more over the phone. Not safe, she'd whispered before hanging up. Not safe? What did that even mean? Lily stopped, at her bookshelf where a framed photo of Michael stood among her novels and knickknacks. It was from his college graduation, his grin wide and carefree, arms slung around Lily's shoulders. He looked so alive, so impossibly present. It was hard to believe he was gone. What were you mixed up in? She asked the photo. As always, Michael's frozen smile offered no answers. With a sigh, Lily decided she needed to dig out her old memory box, the one where she'd stored Michael's things after the funeral. Her parents had been too broken to sort through his belongings, so the task had fallen to her. Most items had gone to charity, but she'd kept the personal things, the ones that carried pieces of who he'd been. The box was on the top shelf of her closet, pushed to the back behind winter blankets and old photo albums. She dragged her desk chair over and climbed up, stretching to reach it. The cardboard box was dusty and slightly dented on one corner. She hadn't opened it in at least 3 years. Sitting cross-legged on her bed, Lily removed the lid. The familiar scent of Michael's cologne, faded but still present, drifted up from the contents, and her eyes instantly welled with tears. Inside were his watch, his favorite books, the concert tickets they'd collected together, and a small stack of cards and letters he'd sent her from college. She sifted through the items carefully, not sure what she was looking for, but feeling like there might be some clue she'd missed before. At the bottom of the box was his wallet, still containing his driver's license, a few faded receipts, and a punch card for the coffee shop near his apartment. Forever 2 punches away from a free drink. Nothing seemed unusual or connected to Lisa's cryptic words. Frustrated, Lily returned everything to the box but kept out the photo album. She flipped through it slowly, studying pictures of Michael from childhood through college. There he was building a snowman with her, teaching her to ride a bike, hugging her at her high school graduation, her big brother always looking out for her. As she turned the final page, something slipped out from behind one of the photos and fell to the floor. Lily leaned down to pick it up, a torn piece of paper with an address scribbled on it in Michael's handwriting. 1440 Riverside, Doctor, ask for Tom. She didn't recognize the address or know anyone named Tom that Michael had been friends with. She turned the paper over. On the back was written water samples and a date, just 2 weeks before Michael died. Water samples? Michael had been studying computer science, not anything related to water or environmental science. It didn't make sense. Lily set the paper aside and continued searching her apartment for anything else of Michael's she might have overlooked. In the back of her desk drawer, she found a small box of miscellaneous items, paper clips, old keys, a USB drive she didn't recognize. The USB drive was plain black with no markings. Curious, she plugged it into her laptop. It contained only one file, a PDF titled River Report. Lily opened it, expecting to find some college assignment, but instead found what looked like scientific data. There were charts showing levels of various chemicals, locations marked by GPS coordinates, and dates spanning 3 months before Michael's death. At the bottom of the last page was a note: evidence of contamination conclusive. Ready to proceed with formal complaint. MP, Michael Parker. Lily stared at the screen, confusion washing over her. Her brother had never mentioned anything about water contamination or environmental work. He'd been focused on finishing his computer science degree and had already lined up a job at a tech firm in the city. Her phone buzzed with a text, making her jump. It was from an unknown number. Don't trust anyone. Check behind your bookcase. Lisa? How did she even know about Lily's bookcase? Heart-pounding, Lily went to the tall bookshelf that dominated her living room wall. It was heavy, built into an alcove and filled with books, but there was a small gap between it and the Well, she squeezed her hand into the space and felt around until her fingers brushed against something solid. It was a book. No, a journal. Bound in worn brown leather with a string tie. She pulled it out, disturbing years of dust that made her sneeze. The journal had Michael's initials embossed on the cover. She'd never seen it before, never even known he kept one. With trembling hands, she untied the string and opened to the first page. If you're reading this, something's happened to me. Keep this safe, Lily. Michael. Her stomach dropped. The message was addressed to her. He'd hidden this for her to find, but she'd missed it for 5 years. The journal entries started about 8 months before his death. The first few were ordinary: complaints about tough classes, excitement about graduation, plans for his new job. But about halfway through, the tone changed dramatically. Met with Riverwatch today. The test results are worse than we thought. The chemicals in the water are off the charts. People could be getting sick from this. Riverwatch? Lily had never heard Michael mention any such group. She read on, her heart racing faster with each entry. Michael described joining an environmental watchdog group as a volunteer, using his computer skills to help analyze water testing data from the river that ran through their town, the river that supplied drinking water to 3 counties. The data doesn't lie. Nexichem is dumping waste upstream. Their filtration system is either broken or being bypassed. The chemical levels in the water match exactly what's used in their manufacturing process. Nexichem was the large chemical plant 10 miles north of town. It was the region's biggest employer, providing jobs to nearly a third of the local workforce, including several town officials. Tom says we need more evidence before going public. If we're going to take on Nexichem, we need to be bulletproof. These people have money and lawyers, we're just volunteers. The entries grew more urgent as weeks passed. Got inside their system today. They know the filtration isn't working. They've known for months, but kept operating anyway. Cost-cutting. Measure. I downloaded the internal memos. This is the smoking gun we need. Then, more alarming. Car followed me home tonight. Dark sedan, tinted windows. Probably nothing, but Tom says to be careful. Says Nexichem plays hardball. And just 3 days before his death. Got another warning today. Anonymous email, but pretty clear what they meant. Not backing down, though. Meeting at the cabin tomorrow to give Tom all the evidence. If anything happens to me, the backup is there. Under the loose floorboard in my old room. The cabin. Their family's old summer place by the lake, about 2 hours from town. They hadn't been there since before Michael died. Their parents had. Sold it a year after the accident, unable to bear the memories. The final entry was dated the day before Michael's accident. They know. Not sure how, but they know what we have. Tom's gone silent. Can't reach him. Moving everything to the backup. Location tonight. Lily, if you're reading this, the truth is at the cabin. Be careful who you trust. Lily closed the journal, her hands shaking so badly she nearly dropped it. Michael's death had been ruled an accident. His car went off the road on a rainy night, hitting a tree. The police report said he likely swerved to avoid an animal. There had been no investigation, no suspicion of foul play, but according to his own words, Michael had been threatened. He'd uncovered something dangerous about Nexicum, something worth silencing him for. And now, 5 years later, someone had left his symbol on his grave. Someone in a jacket like his had been watching her. Lisa was scared to talk on the phone. Lily grabbed her phone and searched Nexichem environmental violations. Nothing significant came up. Just press releases about the company's commitment to sustainability and a few minor fines years ago for paperwork errors. She tried Riverwatch Environmental Group and found a bare-bones website that hadn't been updated in 4 years. The About Us page listed several volunteer members, but no Tom and no Michael. The last search made her blood run cold. Tom River watched dead. The third result was an obituary for Thomas Reeves, 42, who had died in a boating accident just 1 month after Michael. The article mentioned he was an environmental scientist and volunteer with several local conservation groups. 2 members of the same environmental group, both dead in accidents within weeks of each other. Lily's phone buzzed again with another text from the unknown number. "Did you find it? Don't tell anyone, they're still watching. See you tomorrow. Come alone." She stared at her reflection in the darkened window of her apartment. The street lamp outside cast strange shadows across her face, making her look older, haunted. "The truth is, at the cabin," Michael had written. Lily looked down at the journal, in her hands, then at the painted stone she'd set on her coffee table, its spiral symbol seeming to swirl in the dim light. She knew what she had to do. Tomorrow, after meeting Lisa, she would drive to the old cabin. She needed to know what had really happened to her brother. Outside her window, a car with tinted windows pulled up across the street and parked. Its headlights went dark, but no one got out. Lily stepped away from the window, her heart hammering in her chest. For the first time in 5 years, she felt close to Michael again, but also closer to whatever danger had taken him away. Sleep didn't come easy for Lily. She kept getting up to check if the car was still parked outside her apartment. It remained there until just before dawn, when it finally drove away. She dozed off after that, but woke up feeling gritty-eyed and on edge. The coffee shop where she was meeting Lisa was in a busy shopping center on the other side of town. Lily chose a table near the back with a clear view of both the entrance and the emergency exit. She ordered a large coffee, needing the caffeine after her restless night. Lisa was 10 minutes late. When she finally walked in, Lily barely recognized her. Gone was the confident art student with bright clothes and a ready smile. This Lisa looked thin and tired, her eyes darting around the cafe nervously before spotting Lily. "Thanks for coming," Lily said as Lisa slid into the seat across from her. Lisa didn't remove her coat or order anything. "I can't stay long," she said, her voice low. "Did you find the journal?" "Yes," Lily said, surprised. "How did you know about it?" "Michael told me about it once. Said if anything ever happened to him, I should tell you to look behind your bookcase." Lisa's hands fidgeted with a paper napkin, shredding it into tiny pieces. "I should have told you years ago, but I was scared. Then I saw the news about the river last week and I knew I had to reach out." "What news about the river?" Lisa looked surprised. "You haven't seen it? 3 kids got sick after swimming near the old bridge. Really sick. Hospital sick. The official story is that they got into some kind of algae bloom, but that's not what I heard." "What did you hear?" Lisa leaned forward, lowering her voice even more. "That the water tests came back showing the same chemicals Michael was tracking 5 years ago. Nothing's changed, Lily. Whatever Nexichem was dumping then, they're still doing it now." Lily felt cold despite the warm cafe. "The journal mentioned someone named Thomas Reeves. Did you know him?" Lisa nodded. "Not well, but Michael talked about him. He was the leader of their little group. A real scientist, gave their work legitimacy." She paused. "He died too, you know. I saw his obituary online. A boating accident? That's what they called it." Lisa's laugh was bitter. "Just like they called what happened to Michael a car accident." "You don't think it was?" Lisa's eyes met. Lily's directly for the first time. "Michael was the best driver I knew, and he called me that night right before. He was scared, Lily. Said he was being followed. Said he had to get to the cabin to hide something important. Then 2 hours later, I get a call saying he's dead. Lily's hands tightened around her coffee cup. Why didn't you tell the police? I tried. The officer I spoke with wrote it down, said they'd look into it. 2 days later, the same officer comes to my apartment, tells me they found evidence Michael had been drinking that night, said I should stop spreading rumors unless I wanted to tarnish his memory. Lisa's voice cracked. Michael didn't drink, Lily. You know that. Not since your dad's problem when we were in high school. Lily did know. After their father's struggle with alcohol, Michael had sworn off drinking entirely. They were covering something up, Lisa continued. And then when Tom died a few weeks later, I got scared, really scared. I left town, changed my number. I've been looking over my shoulder for 5 years. Then why come back now? Why reach out? Because those kids got sick, because nothing's changed. Lisa pulled something from her pocket, a small USB drive. And because of this, I found it in my old laptop bag last month. Michael must have slipped it in there the last time I saw him. I hadn't used that bag in years. She slid it across the table. I didn't open it, too afraid of what's on it, but you should have it. Lily pocketed the drive, her mind racing. The journal mentioned evidence at the cabin. I'm going there today. Lisa's eyes widened in alarm. Be careful. The place might be watched. Michael said they knew more than they should. Like they had someone on the inside? Who's they? Nexicum? I don't know exactly. Michael said it went beyond just the company. Said some people in town were involved too. People with power. Lisa stood up suddenly. I've been here too long. Just be careful, okay? And maybe don't go to the cabin alone. Before Lily could respond, Lisa was walking quickly toward the exit. At the door, she turned back briefly. I'm leaving town again after this. Don't try to contact me. I'll reach out when it's safe. And then she was gone, leaving Lily with more questions than answers. The drive to the cabin took longer than Lily remembered. The main highway had been replaced by a new bypass, forcing her to take back roads. It was early afternoon by the time she turned onto the gravel drive that led to the old property. The cabin looked smaller than in her memories. The once tidy yard was overgrown with weeds, and the wooden steps to the porch sagged in the middle. A realtor's sign hung crookedly by the driveway, faded from years in the sun. Apparently, the property had never sold after her parents let it go. Lily sat in her car for a few minutes, scanning the area. The neighboring cabins appeared empty. It was the middle of the week in late fall, long past vacation season. No other cars were visible. If someone was watching the place, they weren't being obvious about it. The key was still hidden where they'd always kept it, in a fake rock near the back porch steps. Lily felt a pang as she picked it up, remembering how excited Michael would get when their parents let him unlock the cabin at the start of summer vacations. The door creaked as she pushed it open. The musty smell of a long-closed space hit her immediately, along with a wave of memories. Board games on rainy days, Michael teaching her to play poker with pretzels as chips, ghost stories told by flashlight. Inside, dust covered everything. Their parents had taken the valuable items when they sold the place, but much of the old furniture remained, draped in sheets that had once been white, but were now gray with time. Lily made her way to Michael's room, careful of the creaky floorboards. It was the smallest bedroom, tucked at the back of the cabin with a window overlooking the lake. The twin bed was still there, stripped of linens, its mattress stained with water damage from a leak in the ceiling. Under the loose floorboard in my old room, the journal had said. Lily knelt down, running her hands over the wooden floor. Near the closet, one board moved slightly under her touch. She worked her fingers around the edge and pulled. The board came up easily, revealing a small space beneath. Inside was a waterproof container, the kind photographers use to protect equipment. Lily pulled it out with trembling hands and set it on the dusty bed. The latches were stiff but opened. With a satisfying click, the container held several items. A thick manila envelope, a small notebook different from the journal she'd found, a portable hard drive, and a plastic bag containing what looked like vials of water. Lily opened the envelope. First, it contained photographs, dozens of them. Many showed the river at different locations, close-ups of strange colored foam on the water's surface, dead fish washed up on banks. Others showed the Nexichem facility, particularly a series of large drainage pipes that emptied into the river. Several photos had been taken at night, showing trucks unloading barrels near a rarely used side entrance. The most disturbing photos showed people, children mostly, with angry rashes on their arms and legs. Notes on the back of these photos listed dates, locations, and symptoms. The notebook contained what appeared to be a log of water testing results, with dates and GPS coordinates matching the locations in the photos. Columns of numbers and chemical names meant little to Lily, but the bright red exclamation points next to many entries suggested the results were alarming. As she was examining the materials, a floorboard creaked in another part of the cabin. Lily froze. She'd been certain she was alone. Another creak, closer this time, followed by the unmistakable sound of footsteps trying to move quietly. Heart hammering, Lily quickly returned everything to the waterproof container and latched it shut. There was no time to put it back under the floor. She clutched it to her chest and looked around desperately for a way out. The window. It wasn't far to the ground, and Michael used to sneak out that way as a teenager when their parents thought he was asleep. Trying to move silently, Lily pushed the window open. The old frame groaned in protest, loud in the quiet cabin. The footsteps in the hallway quickened. Lily didn't hesitate. She tossed the container out the window onto the soft ground below, then climbed through the opening just as the bedroom door began to open. She landed awkwardly, pain shooting through her ankle, but adrenaline kept her moving. Grabbing the container, she limped quickly toward the trees behind the cabin. Once in the cover of the woods, she looked back. A man in a dark jacket stood at Michael's window, looking out in her direction. Though distant, something about his posture seemed familiar. The same figure from the cemetery? Lily ducked deeper into the trees, making her way parallel to the shoreline. Her car was out, front, but going back for it now would be too risky. There was an old hiking trail that led to the main road if she could find it. As she moved through the underbrush, the sound of a car engine starting came from the direction of the cabin. Lily quickened her pace, ignoring the throbbing in her ankle. The container felt heavier with each step, but she clutched it tightly. Whatever was inside had cost Michael his life. She wasn't going to let it go. The trail appeared ahead, overgrown but still visible. Lily followed it, constantly looking, over her shoulder expecting to see the man in pursuit. But no one followed. After what felt like hours but was probably only 20 minutes, she reached the main road. A gas station stood about a quarter-mile down. Lily limped toward it, rehearsing her story in her head. A hiking accident, a need, to call for a ride. As she neared the gas station, a black SUV with tinted windows pulled into the parking lot. The same kind of vehicle that had been watching her apartment. Lily ducked behind a roadside billboard, her breath coming in short gasps. The SUV parked, but no one got out. It just sat there, engine running, as if waiting for her. With the cabin behind her and the gas station seemingly watched, Lily realized she was trapped. Whoever had been after Michael 5 years ago was now after her, and the evidence she carried. Hiding behind the billboard, Lily weighed her options. The woods stretched behind her, offering cover but no clear path to safety. Ahead, the gas station with the waiting SUV blocked her route to town. Her ankle throbbed with each heartbeat, a constant reminder of her vulnerable position. Her phone showed no signal bars, typical for this remote area. She was truly on her own. A memory surfaced suddenly. Summers spent exploring these woods, with Michael. There had been another cabin about half a mile along the lakeshore, owned by an older couple who'd let them use their rowboat sometimes. Clutching the waterproof container, Lily pushed back into the trees, angling toward the lake. If that cabin was still there, maybe she could find help, or at least a phone. Moving through the dense undergrowth was slow going. Branches snagged her clothes, and hidden roots threatened to trip her with each step. The container grew heavier, but Lily refused to abandon it. Whatever was inside had been important enough for Michael to hide, important enough for someone to follow her here. After 20 minutes of careful progress, the trees thinned, revealing the glittering surface of the lake. Lily crouched low, scanning the shoreline. There it was, the old cabin with its distinctive red roof about a quarter-mile along the water's edge. No smoke rose from its chimney, no boat sat at its small dock. It looked empty, possibly abandoned like many vacation properties in the area. Still, it represented her best chance. Keeping to the tree line for cover, Lily made her way toward it. When she was about 50 yards away, she froze at the sound of voices. A man and a woman, their words indistinct, but their tone casual. Relaxed. Not searchers then, but perhaps vacationers. Gathering her courage, Lily emerged from the trees. An older couple sat on the cabin's deck drinking coffee. They looked up in surprise as she limped toward them. "I'm so sorry to bother you," Lily called out, trying to keep her voice steady. "I twisted my ankle hiking and my phone's dead. Could I possibly use yours to call for a ride?" The woman stood immediately. "Oh, you poor thing. Come up here and sit down. I'll get you some ice for that ankle." Her husband was already holding the door open. "Phone's inside, take your time." Their kindness nearly undid Lily's fragile composure. She fought back tears as she limped up the steps, the container clutched awkwardly against her chest. "That looks heavy," the man said, gesturing to it. "Want me to take it for you?" "No," Lily replied too quickly. Seeing their startled expressions, she added, "Thank you, but it's got some family heirlooms. I'm a bit protective of it." They accepted this without question, ushering her inside to a comfortable couch. The woman, who introduced herself as Pat, brought ice for Lily's ankle, while her husband, Don, fetched their landline phone. "We're probably the only cabin around that still has a landline," Don chuckled. "Pat insists on it since cell service is so spotty out here." Lily thanked them and dialed the only number she could think of, her neighbor and friend, Becky. Thankfully, Becky answered on the third ring. "It's Lily," she said quickly. "I need a huge favor. Could you pick me up? It's kind of an emergency." She gave the address of the cabin, which Don helpfully provided. 90 minutes tops, Becky promised before hanging up. While waiting, Lily accepted Pat's offer of tea and a sandwich. She made up a story about researching local wildlife for a photography project, explaining away both her presence in the woods and the mysterious container. The couple seemed to accept this, asking polite questions about her supposed photography but not prying too deeply. Through the cabin window, Lily kept a nervous eye on the road and the lake, half expecting to see the dark SUV appear. But the only movement came from a family of ducks paddling near the shore. When Becky's blue hatchback finally pulled up outside, Lily nearly cried with relief. She thanked Pat and Don profusely, promising to return with proper thanks once her project was complete. "You take care of that ankle," Pat called as Lily limped to Becky's car. "And watch out for those slippery trails." Becky waited until they were well away from the cabin before bombarding Lily with questions. "What the heck happened? You sounded terrified on the phone. And what's with the weird box?" Lily hesitated. How much should she share? Becky had been her friend since college, but Michael's journal warned about trusting anyone. Still, she needed help, and Becky was the closest thing to family she had in town, since her parents had moved to Arizona after Michael's death. "It's a long story," Lily began, watching Becky's face carefully. "And honestly, it might sound crazy." "Try me," Becky said, her eyes flicking between the road and Lily's disheveled appearance. "You look like you've been through hell. So crazy might be the right explanation." So Lily told her everything. The visit to Michael's grave, the mysterious figure, finding the journal, meeting Lisa and discovering the evidence at the cabin. As she spoke, she studied Becky for any sign of disbelief or suspicion, but saw only growing concern. "Holy shit, Lily," Becky breathed when she finished. That's not crazy. That's terrifying. Have you gone to the police?" "I can't," Lily said, shaking her head. Michael's journal suggested someone there might be involved, and whoever is after this evidence knew I'd be at the cabin today. They're always one step ahead. Becky was quiet for a moment, processing. What are you going to do? I need to look through everything properly, Lily said, patting the container. Figure out exactly what Michael found, what got him killed. Then maybe take it to someone who can help. FBI maybe, or a journalist. You can stay with me tonight, Becky offered. My place is safer than yours if they've been watching your apartment. Lily nodded gratefully. Just need to grab some things from my place first. As they approached town, Lily had Becky drive past her apartment building slowly. No suspicious vehicles were parked outside, but that didn't mean much. They agreed Becky would wait in the car while Lily ran in quickly for essentials. Her apartment looked undisturbed, exactly as she'd left it that morning. Lily grabbed a backpack and stuffed it with clothes, toiletries, her laptop, and Michael's journal. She was about to leave when she remembered the USB drive Lisa had given her. Back in Becky's car, they drove to her small house on the other side of town. Once inside, with doors locked and curtains drawn, Lily finally allowed herself to breathe. They were safe, at least for now. Let's see what you've got, Becky said, clearing space on her dining table. Lily carefully opened the waterproof container and spread out its contents. The photos of the river and the sick children, the notebook with testing results, the hard drive, the vials of water samples. I'm not sure what to make of most of this, Lily admitted. I'm not a scientist. My cousin works in a lab at the university, Becky offered. Maybe she could test these water samples, tell us what's in them. That would be great, Lily said. But first, let's see what's on this USB drive Lisa gave me, and the hard drive from the cabin. She connected the USB to her laptop first. It contained a single video file. Lily clicked play and Michael's face filled the screen. He looked tired, worried, his usually neat hair disheveled as if he'd been running his hands through it. The timestamp showed it was recorded the night before his death. If you're watching this, he began, his voice slightly hoarse, then something's happened to me. I hope that's not the case, but I need to be prepared. Lily's eyes filled with tears. At the sight of him, so alive, so real, Becky squeezed her shoulder in silent support. What I'm about to say will sound paranoid, Michael continued, but it's all true. For the past 6 months, I've been working with a group called River Watch. We've been investigating water contamination from the Nexichem plant upriver. What we've found it's bad, really bad. He held up papers to the camera, charts, internal memos, photographs similar to the ones Lily had found in the container. They've been dumping untreated chemical waste directly into the river for years. The filtration system they claim to use is barely functioning. People downstream are getting sick, unusual cancers, skin conditions, respiratory problems. Kids are the worst affected. Michael looked directly into the camera, his expression hardening. Here's where it gets complicated. Nexichem isn't just polluting. They're bribing officials to look the other way. We have proof that Mayor Wilson received payments. Police Chief Davis, too. Even Dr. Preston at the hospital has been falsifying patient records to hide the pattern of illness. Lily gasped. These were respected figures in their community. Dr. Preston had been their family physician for years. We were planning to take everything to the State Environmental Agency next week, Michael continued. But somehow they found out. Tom's gone, missing. My apartment was broken into, and I've been followed for the past 3 days. He ran a hand through his hair, confirming Lily's impression of his distress. I've hidden the evidence in several places. Some at the cabin, some with Lisa, some on this drive. If something happens to me, get it all to reporter Vicky Chen at the Tribune. She's the only journalist I trust with this. Don't go to the local police. Don't trust anyone connected to the town government. Michael leaned closer to the camera, his voice dropping. Lily, I know you'll probably be the one to find this. I'm sorry to put this on you, but you're the only one I can count on. Be careful. These people have a lot to lose if this gets out. They've already shown they're willing to do whatever it takes to keep their secret. His eyes softened. I love you, sis. I hope you never have to see this video. But if you do, Finish what I started. For all the kids getting sick. For our town. The video ended, freezing on Michael's face, determined, afraid, but resolute. Lily stared at the screen, tears streaming down her face. 5 years of grief suddenly mixed with a burning anger. Her brother hadn't just died, he'd been killed. And the people responsible were still out there, still poisoning the river, still hurting children. We need to find this reporter, Becky said quietly. Vicky Chen. Lily wiped her eyes and nodded. Tomorrow. First, let's see what's on the hard drive. As she reached for it, headlights swept across Becky's living room window. A car had pulled up outside. Both women froze, staring at each other, in the sudden silence. Are you expecting anyone? Lily whispered. Becky shook her head slowly, her eyes wide with fear. A car door slammed, then another. Footsteps approached the front door. The doorbell rang, the sound jarringly ordinary in the tense atmosphere. Don't answer it, Lily breathed, already gathering the evidence back into the container. The doorbell rang again, more insistent this time. Then a heavy knock. Becky Sullivan, a male voice called. This is Detective Harris with the county police. We need to speak with you about an incident at Pine Lake today. County police, not local. Could they be trusted, or was this another trap? Lily and Becky looked at each other, both thinking the same thing. How did they know to look for Lily here? The knocking came again, louder this time. We know you're in, there, Miss Sullivan. And we have reason to believe Lily Parker is with you. This concerns her brother's case. Please open the door. Her brother's case? After 5 years? Lily felt a chill run down her spine. Whatever came next, she knew one thing for certain. Nothing about Michael's death had been an accident, and now the same people might be coming for her. Don't open it, Lily whispered, clutching the container of evidence to her chest. We don't know if they're really county police. Becky nodded, but her eyes were wide with fear. What do we do? The knocking continued, growing more insistent. Ms. Sullivan, Ms. Parker, please open up, the voice called. This is Detective Harris with County Sheriff's Department. We're here to help. Help? After 5 years of silence about Michael's death? Lily wasn't buying it. She gestured toward the back door. Is there a way out through the yard? The fence has a gate that leads to the alley, Becky whispered. But where would we go? Before Lily could answer, her phone buzzed with a text message. Unknown number. Don't trust the police. Go out the back. Red car waiting in the alley. Password is sunflower. Lily showed the message to Becky, whose eyes widened even further. Could be a trap, Becky whispered. Could be, Lily agreed. But staying here definitely isn't safe. The front doorknob rattled as someone tried to turn. Miss Sullivan, we have a warrant. We're coming in. The voice had lost all pretense of friendliness. Back door, Lily decided, grabbing her backpack and the container. Now. They slipped through the kitchen to the rear exit. Through the window, Lily could see flashlight beams sweeping around the sides of the house. They were surrounded. Come on, she urged, easing the back door open slowly to avoid any squeaking hinges. The small backyard was dark, but the moon provided just enough light to see the path to the gate. Crouching low, they hurried across the grass, the sound of the front door being forced open spurring them on. The gate latch stuck for a heart-stopping moment before giving way. They slipped through into the narrow alley behind the row of houses, and there, just as promised, sat a red sedan with its lights off. What if it's a trap? Becky whispered again. Then we're no worse off than staying there. Lily replied, though her own heart was racing with uncertainty. They approached the car cautiously. The driver's window rolled down just enough for a woman's voice to ask, Password? Sunflower, Lily replied, holding her breath. The rear door unlocked with a click. Get in quickly. Lily hesitated only a moment before sliding into the back seat, Becky right behind her. As soon as the door closed, the car pulled away, moving quietly through the alley without headlights. In the dim glow of the dashboard lights, Lily could make out only the driver's silhouette. A woman with short hair. Something about her seemed vaguely familiar. Who are you? Lily demanded, How did you know we needed help? My name is Vicky Chen, the woman replied, checking her rearview mirror for any signs of pursuit. I'm a reporter with the Tribune, and I've been waiting for you to find me for 5 years. Vicky Chen, the reporter Michael had mentioned in his video. Lily felt a rush of hope. Your brother contacted me the week before he died, Vicky continued, turning onto a main road and finally switching on her headlights. He said he had evidence of environmental crimes and corruption. We were supposed to meet, but then... Her voice trailed off. He was killed. Lily finished for her. Vicky nodded. I tried to investigate but hit walls everywhere. Sources clammed up. Records disappeared. I kept digging, but without Michael's evidence I couldn't prove anything. How did you find us tonight? Becky asked, still looking nervously out the back window. I have a contact in the county police, Vicky explained. When they got orders to pick up Lily Parker in connection with a break-in at the old cabin property, my contact called me. I've had alerts set up for anything related to Michael Parker or that cabin for years. Where are you taking us? Lily asked, holding the evidence container tighter. Somewhere safe, Vicky assured her. A place where we can go through whatever you've found and figure out our next steps. 30 minutes later, they pulled up to a small farmhouse well outside of town. The property was dark except for a single light above the porch. My aunt's place, Vicky explained as they got out. She's in Florida for the winter. No one knows I use it. Inside, the house was simple but comfortable. Vicky locked the door behind them and drew all the curtains before turning on more lights. Now, she said, turning to Lily with intensity in her eyes, tell me everything. Over the next hour, Lily and Becky recounted the whole story. From the cemetery visit to finding the journal, meeting Lisa, discovering the evidence at the cabin, and watching Michael's video. Vicky took detailed notes, occasionally stopping them to ask clarifying questions. When Lily finally opened the container to show her the evidence, Vicky's professional composure cracked. This is it, she whispered, carefully examining the photos of sick children, the water testing results, the internal memos. This is everything we need. With Michael's video naming names, this is enough to blow the whole thing wide open. But what do we do with it? Lily asked. The local police are involved, the mayor, even doctors. Who can we trust? Vicky's expression was grim but determined. I have contacts at the State Environmental Agency, people I know aren't connected to Nexichem, and a federal prosecutor who specializes in environmental crimes. She gathered the evidence carefully. But first, we need to make copies of everything. Multiple copies, stored in different locations. If these people killed Michael for this information, they won't hesitate to try again. Through the night they worked together, scanning documents, copying the hard drive and USB, photographing the water samples. Vicky sent encrypted files to trusted colleagues with instructions to release everything publicly if they didn't hear from her within 24 hours. As dawn broke, Lily felt exhausted but somehow lighter. For 5 years she'd believed the lie about Michael's death. Now finally, she was doing something with the truth he'd died to protect. What happens next? She asked Vicky, who was preparing to leave with one set of the evidence. I take this to my contacts at the state and federal level, Vicky explained. You and Becky stay here. It's safer until we know who we can trust locally. And then what? Vicky's expression softened. Then we get justice for Michael. And for all the people who've been harmed by Nexichem's dumping. After she left, Lily sat on the porch watching the sunrise. Becky had fallen asleep on the couch inside, but Lily was too wired to rest. In her hand, she held the small painted stone from Michael's grave, his personal symbol that had started this whole journey. Her phone buzzed with a text from Vicky. Meeting set with EPA and federal prosecutor this afternoon. Stay safe. 3 days later, Lily stood in the parking lot of the Nexichem plant, watching as FBI agents led handcuffed executives to waiting vehicles. News vans lined the street, cameras rolling as the story of corporate pollution and corruption unfolded for the world to see. Beside her stood Vicky, who had barely slept since taking the evidence. Her newspaper had published a comprehensive exposé that morning, detailing years of illegal dumping, falsified safety reports, and the bribery of local officials. "They're arresting the mayor now," Vicky said, checking her phone. "And the police chief. The state's appointed a special prosecutor for the case against Dr. Preston and the other medical staff who covered up the health effects." In the days since Lily had escaped from Becky's house, the case had exploded. The water samples had tested positive for dangerous levels of industrial chemicals. The internal memos proved company executives knew about the dangers, but continued dumping to save money. And Michael's video naming corrupt officials had been the final piece that brought everything crashing down. Most shocking to the community was the revelation that the accident that killed Michael Parker 5 years ago had been deliberately orchestrated by a security firm hired by Nexicum. The same firm had also been responsible for Thomas Reeves's boating accident weeks later. 2 arrests had already been made in connection with Michael's death, with more expected as the investigation continued. For Lily, watching justice unfold was surreal. Nothing could bring Michael back. But knowing that his work would save others, that children would no longer be poisoned by their drinking water, brought a sense of peace she hadn't felt in years. "Your brother would be proud," Vicky said quietly, watching as another executive was led away in handcuffs. "He would," Lily agreed. "But I think he'd be more concerned about the cleanup. These chemicals don't just disappear overnight." Vicky nodded. "That's the next battle. The state's already ordered Nexicum to fund a complete remediation of the river system, and there's talk of a class action lawsuit for all the families affected by the contamination." Later that afternoon, Lily returned to Pine Grove Cemetery. The place felt different now, less a site of grief and more a connection to Michael's legacy. She placed fresh sunflowers at his headstone, then added something else, the painted stone with his symbol that had started her journey. "We did it," she whispered, tears blurring her vision. "You can rest now." As she stood to leave, she noticed a figure standing by the cemetery gates, the same jacket, the same posture she'd glimpsed at the grave and later at the cabin. Only this time, the person wasn't hiding. Lily approached cautiously. As she drew closer, the figure turned, revealing a young man with a striking resemblance to Michael. "You must be Lily," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I'm David. Michael was my cousin, and my friend." Cousin? Michael had never mentioned a cousin named David. "He helped me when I got sick from the water," David explained, seeing her confusion. "I was one of the first cases. He promised he'd find out what was happening, find a way to stop it." David pulled up his sleeve, revealing a familiar spiral tattoo with 3 dots, the same symbol as Michael's. "We got these together, the day he promised to help. It means truth seeker in an old Native American language. Our grandmother taught us about it." Tears welled in Lily's eyes again. "You're the one who left the painted stone." David nodded. "Every year on the anniversary. I couldn't approach you before, it wasn't safe. But when I saw the news today, I knew it was finally over." Together they walked back to Michael's grave. David placed a small bundle of wildflowers beside the sunflowers. "I tried to continue his work," David said quietly, "collecting water samples, documenting cases, but I didn't have his courage." "You had enough courage to keep his memory alive," Lily replied, "to keep the truth alive until someone could do something about it." As they stood by the grave, the wind picked up, rustling through the cemetery trees. Lily remembered what Michael always said about sunflowers, how they always turned to face the light, no matter what. Like truth, she thought. No matter how deeply buried, it eventually finds its way to the light. "Would you like to get coffee?" she asked David. "I'd love to hear more about the cousin my brother never told me about." David smiled, a smile so like Michael's it made her heart ache. "I'd like that. I have 5 years of stories to share." As they walked away from the grave, Lily felt Michael's presence more strongly than she had in years. Not as a ghost or a memory, but as a continuing force. His work complete, his truth finally known, his legacy just beginning. What happened? When Lily visited her brother's tomb was indeed unbelievable, not because she'd found some supernatural sign, but because she'd uncovered the very real truth her brother had died protecting. And in doing so, she'd found a way to keep him alive in the most meaningful way possible, by finishing what he started.